Дякуємо за авто підписникам Mercado Media. В цей час воно нам дуже необхідно.
Слава Україні! Я головний сержант 2-ї саперної інженерної роти 33-го окремого інженерного батальйону. Хочу висловити подяку Mercado та його підписникам за таку чудову машину. Ця машина нас проведе ближче до перемоги. Побєда за нами, слава Україні!
Дякуємо глядачам каналу Mercado Media за збір на цю автівку. Слава ЗСУ!
Dear friends of NAFO, my name is Pete, hasta la vista, from Project Constantine. This beautiful beast was donated to the brigade that we're friendly with in the forest, 67 Brigade. 69th Infantry Brigade donating to 67. It's pretty cool. I keep bumping into this vehicle in the forest. We never have time. We never have time to actually make any videos or get inside your vehicle and do any missions with it, because we're like passing ships in the night here. But Mercado Media, Andrew, you NAFO supporters, it's beautiful to see this grand vehicle that you've got for this brigade, because it's a reliable vehicle, and I've never seen it anywhere other than in the forest. I've never seen it in the garage. And yes to that, and all Ukrainians must live. Bakhmut is Ukraine. This forest is Ukraine. And Mercado Media and NAFO, you guys are here supporting us, man, and we freaking love you to pieces. Thank you for what you're doing for the soldiers of Ukraine. God bless you. To victory. Do перемоги.
Hey everyone, we're snipers from a unit of Special Forces, 3rd Operative Brigade Spartan. Currently we are walking in the direction of Zaporizhia. Unfortunately, during the several missions we lost a large number of our vehicles. We are very thankful to our friends NAFO and Help 99, and we are asking to help us with the pickups and buses. These vehicles will help us to get the required location and evacuate the brave soldiers. Slava Ukraini!
Героям слава!
How are we doing, everybody? Oh, man. I got the wrong camera on. Let me get this fixed. I forgot to switch over my gaming stuff. All right, there we go. We can have that for now. How we doing, chat? Check into the stream. All right, there we go. All right, everything's fixed now. I had my other channel settings up on the screen. There you guys are at. All right, everything's good to go now. How we doing, chat? Happy Monday. Told you guys last week, and at least last couple weeks, Mondays will be the only day that this news streams at like a weird time, and it's going to be consistent at this time, about 2:30 p.m. between 2 and 2:30. So 2:15 is what I'm shooting for. But Mondays are the days I got softball. I have softball at night, and I got to get out there. So I'm not able to do a nighttime news stream. But Tuesday through Friday, I will be. But until we get to that and all the details, as you guys saw, there's our NAFO campaign patch. Okay, we're at 47% complete. So we need to keep going with that. We're doing absolutely amazing. We're at like $9,317 out of $19,500. 47% complete, you guys. Let's continue doing that. We're doing absolutely amazing out of only 59 donations. And like 64,000 subscribers. 64,000 subscribers. 59 donations are carrying the way. And let's get that number up there on the NAFO 69th, NAFO 69th Stiffing Brigade campaign fundraiser. The link is in the description of the video. You guys are doing absolutely amazing on that. But as I was saying, y'all, the Monday streams are gonna be at about this time, about 2:15, 2:30, just so I can get a stream out there and talk to you guys before I have my softball stuff later on in the evening. But Tuesday, tomorrow, through the rest of the week, it's going to be at the normal time at 7 p.m. Eastern at nighttime. And as we continue this, by a couple more weeks of this schedule, get settled in, and then I'll get videos rolling out. Because I was doing that, the daytime coverage was allowing me to edit videos and post them. But now I got to figure out how to get that so I can get videos up and do my streams with you guys, which is absolutely amazing. Also, shout out to Operator Starsky, Operator Starsky's YouTube channel. We were a guest on there, and the Shills. So we were a guest on the Shills YouTube channel. These are channels you guys need to follow for the most important updates that happens with Ukraine. All right, so we were on there. You can see Rick the Ukrainian on there. Greg Terry shows up on that stream. Professor Gertis does. So we had a great conversation with the Shills on Saturday. And then again, Operator Starsky And the best way you can get notified of these extra streams that I'm on and I'm a part of, we had almost a 3-hour conversation with Starsky yesterday, which was absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. And I actually showed some photos of my military experience in the past, and talked about some stories. We talked about the origin of Putin Khoilo and how that all began. Just a great conversation with Operator Starsky. And the best way you guys can get notified on those updates and those streams is if you join my Discord server. Link is in the description. It's the best I can do for y'all. And I consistently say it, but if you want to be updated at all times, even after the fact, the Discord server link is in the description. There it was. Discord turned 9 years old. Plus, you can also see all the combat videos and clips that are coming in out of Ukraine, all the latest news and events that are coming out of Ukraine in our entire Ukraine section. Right? We have a whole Ukraine war section here on my Discord server that you guys can go into and look at. Let me get a big plus from everybody tuned in. Sober in Wisconsin might be the only one. We're trying to keep our lungs clear from all the Canadian wildfire smoke that's spreading across the state of Minnesota right now as we speak. Yesterday was a lot worse. Today isn't as bad, but the air quality is apparently still real bad in Minnesota. Air quality. Yeah, we're in the. Oh, maybe it might be clearing up now. It's 95, so it's in here, which is bad. It's getting better. It was up here yesterday. It was in the orange, but yeah, we got the Canadian wildfires going on where I'm at in South Dakota. Yeah, bad in Wisconsin too. Yesterday I looked out and I thought it was storming. I thought we were having a thunderstorm, but it was just the smoke from those wildfires. It's just you smoking with some. What up, Wisconsin? What up from Colorado? How you doing? Canada. Devon. Also, guys, make sure you have your notification bell turned on the channel. I've been getting messages and comments in the comment section saying that the people had to resubscribe to the channel. They've been subscribed, but they had to hit the button again. So just double check and make sure that is you, because as we're talking here, as we actually get into the news in a minute, we got a lot of big updates coming in, especially from this Russian offensive northeast of Kharkiv, and it's getting worse. The village of Vovchansk is apparently it's just not the best of news right now coming out of Ukraine, and I want to make sure you guys are updated on all of that. So make sure you have your notifications on this channel turned on, because no matter what, nighttime streams are happening tomorrow through Friday, but these daytime streams, like if you're watching after the fact, you usually tune in at night. Thank you for tuning in to the replay. I want to make sure you guys get those updates. And if I have to ask, if these next 2 weeks and I just can't get videos out, I'm going to have to ask for an editor. And I'm also likely going to have to send a stream to Twitch to make it easier, because I was having a conversation with Dylan. The best way to get videos up on the channel is to download the Twitch streams after. YouTube, you can download the streams, but it takes at least 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours to get the good video quality from the stream to make a video out of it. Whereas Twitch, it's pretty instant. So I might be launching a Twitch. I have one, but I might be starting to stream to it just so I can get the final video afterwards, so I can start clipping out videos for the channel afterwards. Because as time has gone on, I have my solid stream audience, but in terms of getting my content and the news of what we talk about out into the mainstream, I got to start making shorter videos of that. We were doing well, but it wasn't working with my daytime stream. Lots of people weren't getting the streams. So anyways, let's get into the news and events with Ukraine. Anything else I'm trying to think of before we get into it? Any notes before we dive in here? I think that's it, you guys. We got our fundraiser going. Good job, you guys, on that. 59 donations. Discord server for notifications. The schedule. Oh, really quick too, before we dive in, I did post a schedule update. I might have to edit this because I put 2 p.m. Eastern instead of yeah, I messed up because I meant to put. I gotta fix this. My bad. It's 3 p.m. Eastern. I set it to 2 p.m. because it's like Central Time. But here's the weekly stream schedule. It's posted on the community tab in case you need to reference it. Can I pin this? I really wish I could start pinning community notes or community tab updates for you guys, because if you don't join the Discord server, which you should if you haven't done so, link is in the description. I'm posting the same type of updates I do on my Discord server in the announcements tab. So this was already posted. Right, same thing. It almost looks the same, right? There's my BBL Glizzy, I'm the hot dog man, right? But all that stuff, I'm trying to make sure I'm at least posting to YouTube as well. until I get more people to the server. So all of it's there, right? The whole schedule. So that's the biggest feedback I've had over the past couple of weeks, just trying to get settled into our schedule moving forward. And it was a consistent schedule and having it written somewhere, and it is there for you now. So it's posted there in the YouTube community tab, but also available in my Discord server. And it's pretty static. The only things that might change are Saturday evenings and Sundays, because if I'm a guest on other streamers' platforms, like I was with the Shills, I was on with Starsky, I was on with Rick the Ukrainian this weekend, I was a guest on stuff. And I'll try to stream that stuff to my own platform, but when it comes to like the pro-Ukraine stuff, having us all in one place is like probably better. Whereas like if I was talking about something else, like if when my channel starts focusing more on the election stuff, I might stream all that with Rick, with Operator Starsky, because we're inevitably going to be having more people that are paying attention to the U.S. elections come back. I have my whole Facebook page, you guys, and I'm ready to connect the Ukraine audience with my old 2020, 2021 U.S. election protest audience and morph you together as the election gets closer, and that will happen. I get hundreds and hundreds of interactions on my Facebook page on posts, and I'm gonna start to slowly bring them over here to this YouTube channel and Twitch, so they can get updated on Ukraine as well. And that's how I got to do it. I'm gonna have to tap back into my old-timey community with the internal US stuff, and then we can get them the updates on Ukraine as well. That's how we can expand the knowledge. All right, let's dive in. Anything else you guys have on notes that I might have missed or anything, you can write in the comments and at me. Russia's losses as of May 13th. We're at 1,740 troops, taking massive losses because of this offensive to the northeast of Kharkiv. 59 vehicles and fuel tanks. We got 31 tanks. We got 15 artillery systems, 26 UAVs. We got 4 multiple launch rocket systems. We got 3 cruise missiles, 0 anti-aircraft warfare, and 6 special equipment. That is Russia's losses as of May 13th. 1740 is up there. And some of the biggest losses Russia's had since the start of the full-scale invasion. But that, again, that's due to this offensive, and plus the offensive that's in Donbass that's pushing into Ukrainian territory. All right, that's why we're seeing those high losses, because when Russia's on that offensive, they might be gaining ground incrementally or more at a rapid rate as of right now in Kharkiv specifically, but they're taking massive losses doing so. Don't forget, it's always a meat grinder. It's not like Russia's improved their strategy on how they conduct warfare. They're just putting it in other places now, or replacing it. So here's the map, as you guys can see. We're going to go into the full map update. And then actually, before we do a map update, let's get the news report specifically on Kharkiv to get the latest. There's live cameras again. Live cameras are up showing Kharkiv. If you guys have good live cameras, I tried finding a couple before the stream, but they just were not good quality like we had back in the day. If you guys know those sources and the locations of those live streams that you're looking at, send them to my Discord server.
Intensified its attacks in northeast Ukraine, raising fears of the city of Kharkiv could soon be in range of its artillery. The border town of Vovchansk has been heavily bombed. Kharkiv's governor has said that Russia is trying to stretch the front line. Ukraine's commander in the area has been replaced. In another sign of the growing strain on Kyiv, Ukraine has said it'll need record energy imports after Russian attacks on infrastructure. Well, as Russia makes progress in the war, President Putin is appointing a new defence minister, Andrei Belousov. Like his predecessor, Sergei Shoigu, who doesn't have much experience in the military field, but he is one of Putin's most influential economic advisors. And analysts say that may offer a clue as to the Russian leader's desire to fund his military ambitions. Well, we'll have more on the changes in Russia's defence hierarchy in a moment. But first, our correspondent James Waterhouse has the latest on the fighting in Ukraine.
That's right. Shoigu was replaced with more of a political figure than military figure.
Fighting in Ukraine.
The Kharkiv region really does form the focus, really, of this most significant of ground offensives we've seen since the start of this full-scale invasion 2 years ago. Now, what Ukrainian forces are saying is that the Russians are deploying significant troop numbers to 2 main incursion points across the border where invading forces are claiming to have taken around 9 villages now. They're claiming to be in a town called Vovchansk, which has been heavily bombed. Kyiv is disputing that, saying there is still heavy fighting. Some forces are saying they've killed around 100 invading soldiers today, but there are also fears, twofold really. Firstly, that the fighting could well spill into other settlements as this sort of new tide of Russian occupation starts to spread, but also if they were to get within, say, 20 miles of Kharkiv city itself, Ukraine's second biggest city, then that would put them in artillery range, and that is when air defences can't really do anything to protect you. And people living there, as well as in countless settlements across the east, know what happens next, where you have cities that sustain really significant damage and make it all the more impossible to live there. That said, it's not thought this attack is capable yet of taking a city like Kharkiv. Russian forces tried and failed with a far greater force 2 years ago, but nevertheless this is a concerning new point of attack for already overstretched Ukrainian troops.
And
Concerning for sure, but Russia's been shelling Kharkiv this whole time. I know, they'll be in closer artillery range so they can actually like hit the city on a consistent basis. But in terms of like the northern villages and the surrounding areas of Kharkiv, it's been shelled for 2 years, like consistently, constantly. You go to Kharkiv, it's air raid alarm the whole time. Darkness at 11 p.m. at night because the shelling is happening. But now it's the concern of it's going to be within the city at consistent rates, right? If they get within the 20 miles. But the outskirts of Kharkiv have been getting shelled.
James, obviously we have seen the US vote through this military aid package. Overall, how is that likely to tip the balance of power and strength in this ongoing battle?
Well, I don't think it'll tip the scales fully back into Ukraine's favour by any stretch. I think Ukraine would take a simple levelling out, if you want to look at it like that. I mean, at the moment, it's not just the story of the last 4 days with this Russian assault, it's the story of the last 6 months where you've seen Russia really throw everything at trying to take as much Ukrainian territory as possible, notably in the east. But the disturbing development for Kyiv is the fact that it is now happening in the northeast. And there's a lot of frustration too. There are troops there who said, these Russian soldiers walked across the border. They were barely challenged and were barely met with any kind of Ukrainian fortification. It's a similar kind of criticism we heard levelled at the authorities in the early days of the invasion. So I think the arrival of artillery shells or long-range missiles will simply allow Ukraine to perhaps, and it's a perhaps, slow this Russian advance. At the moment they're saying we're confident we can take the territory back that's been taken eventually, but at the moment there is only one direction of travel and it's looking pretty desperate.
I can't figure out if Russia is striking in the capital of Ukraine. Why is Ukraine not struck in the capital of Russia? Because the West said don't. That's why.
Some parts of a region that was liberated 2 years ago. We must remember
the West is consistently afraid of Russian escalation, right? So they'll be like, don't. They actually limited the HIMARS capability so Ukraine couldn't, because Ukraine's smart. Ukrainians are very intelligent. They would have been able to get that thing to do long range attacks, and the U.S. like put a, I don't know what the mechanic is. When I drove trucks, it was called a governor, where like you couldn't go over 65 miles an hour and it would stop there. Well, it's like basically like a governor on the HIMARS. Again, it's a different term, but it was so that way they couldn't be used as long range systems. So they could only have the small range system capabilities on it.
Russia says it's captured another 4 villages in the Kharkiv region in eastern Ukraine, an area where Russian troops had been pushed back nearly 2 years ago. It means that since they launched their surprise offensive 2 days ago, they've taken 9 villages. Russian officials say as of today, these 4 villages are now under Russian control. They claim to have also taken these villages since Friday. Ukraine insists its forces are managing to hold back further Russian advances. Kyiv has been expecting a Russian summer offensive for some time, including a possible attempt to capture Kharkiv, Ukraine's second city. Today, there have also been strikes on the Russian side of the border in Belgorod, with Russian military saying a Ukrainian airstrike destroyed a section of a 10-story apartment block.
Do I have that quick? Hold on. I think I saved that bookmark. Yeah, Russia did that to them. Russia did that themselves in Belgorod. Did I? Oh, man. I think maybe I saved it in the Ukraine section. There it is. Okay. Close up of the Belgorod apartment bombing. Okay. The one piece that goes down. It was, in my opinion, from what I can see, it was a controlled detonation. Controlled det of that part of the apartment building. Just watch it go down. We can get into the Belgorod reports too, because that was yesterday. We didn't really get into that. It was more of a, on Starsky and the Shills, we just had a hangout. Look at that, bro. Whatever. Watch that one more time. What happened? Yeah. What happened? 1999. Bombing civilians like it's 1999, but it's controlled detonations. Okay? Keep that in mind.
With the latest on the conflict, our defence correspondent Jonathan Beale reports from the border town of Vovchansk.
The road to Russia, just a few miles from the border. And proof the Russians are back in the Kharkiv region again. The town of Vovchansk was liberated in a surprise Ukrainian offensive less than 2 years ago. Now it's at risk of falling back into Russian hands. Alexei, a local policeman, is once again telling the population to leave. He says it's better than dying. The shelling is constant and chaotic, and it's all over the town. We quickly move on at the sound of a Russian drone. This is all that's left of Serhi's home. The familiar Russian tactic of reducing towns to rubble. But Serhi says he can't leave. He needs to look after his goats. Now, his only worldly possessions. You can still hear the artillery battle going on. It was more intense yesterday. This devastation, one man's house, was created by a Russian glide bomb. And that's the sound of a jet somewhere.
Time to get in cover.
Ukraine's outgunned and outnumbered, and Russia's using aerial glide bombs to devastating effect. Alexei simply says, look at what's happening. For some, it's made the decision to flee unavoidable, though it's still heartbreaking for Alexander. This was the home he grew up in. He doesn't know if he'll ever return. Ukrainian officials insist they were ready. Not everyone agrees. This drone footage appears to show Russian troops crossing the border unopposed.
Damn, dude. They didn't build defensive positions, bro. Jesus Christ, bro. They didn't get them up there either. They were supposed to. Oh, man.
In front line.
For something you've already fought for before in 2022. Same again.
Same again.
You're angry?
Very angry.
Denis, a Ukrainian reconnaissance commander, helped push back the Russians in 2022. Now he's having to fight for the same territory again.
There was no first line of defense. We saw it. The Russians just walked in. Where were the minefields?
That's the failure of the command. That's why command's been replaced. That's why, as much as Zaluzhny was well respected and other things, like that type of shit wasn't put down. Same with over here in the east. That's happening in to the west of Avdiivka. And what's going on here? Defensive lines weren't built over there either. They're getting them built now. Damn, dude. They didn't have defensive lines built.
Walked in.
Ukraine says it's repelling this attack with reinforcements. But Russia's been probing the entire 800-mile front. And in Kharkiv, It's exposed a weakness. Jonathan Beale, BBC News, Vovchansk.
Damn. Damn. CBC News. Let's go to Canadian news. We'll just go through we'll go through the reports and then I'll give you guys the map breakdown.
Ukraine is back in our news this morning. Ukraine says its troops are locked in intense battles with advancing Russian soldiers in the northeastern Ukrainian region of Kharkiv. And there are fears that fighting could spread. Let's bring in Julia Chapman, who's on the story for us this morning out of London. How extensive are the gains Russia is making on this new front, Julia?
Good morning. Well, Russia says that it has claimed 9 villages along the border region over the weekend since it began this incursion on Friday. And Ukraine's military has admitted that Moscow has seen some tactical successes in the small city of Vovchansk, where overnight in his nightly address, Volodymyr Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, said Ukrainian forces were coming under constant fire in the outskirts, where the situation there remains very difficult. So certainly an opening up of a new front in this war. But officials in Ukraine have told the public not to panic. They say that reinforcements are being sent in. Nevertheless, they have evacuated more than 5,000 people from these border villages.
And that's been happening for weeks now. The evacuations like up here in Kozacha-Lopan, all that, they've been started evacuations like a few weeks ago. I didn't know that the defensive lines just weren't existent at all either.
Along the border with Russia, and this certainly does mark the most significant incursion into this region since the early phases of the war.
So, Julia, what is behind the fact that, again, Kharkiv is the renewed focus for Russia? And what do they tell us about Ukraine's fighting ability at this point in the war?
Well, there are certainly questions being raised as to how this has been possible. We saw one disgruntled Ukrainian soldier take to social media arguing that Russians were able to just walk in, saying that the first line of fortifications simply didn't exist. One military advisor to the Ministry of Defense, Yuri Sak, said this morning that because of constant bombardments from Russia against these villages, it simply wasn't possible to build defensive lines. The region's governor has argued that there is also a cause for this because of the delays to Western aid. So certainly a lot of questions being asked, but the major concern now, tactically for the Ukrainians, is the proximity of Russian forces to the city of Kharkiv. Ukraine
Sounds like complacency all around between the West's support for Ukraine and the 6 months, half a year that went without any type of support, and then also the command of the Ukrainian armed forces.
Second largest city with a pre-war population of 1.5 million people. And as the Russians approach, the fear is that they could reach artillery distance from this city, making it much harder to repel attacks than it has been.
And October 7th was a bigger distraction than everyone thought, huh? Had to have been, because that's ironic that that time happened, and then ever since then it's been even I'm sorry, but if you were pro-Ukraine and then when October 7th happened you just immediately shifted all of your attention to Israel and shit, I view you as a clown. Like I don't know how else to put it. Like especially analysts and people that were like so pro-Ukraine in 2022 and maybe they went there and everything, and then October 7th and then they just shifted their entire existence to talking about Israel as if that's the largest geopolitical threat in the world. Clown. Okay? Clown. Even when you go to look at the polls of what Americans are going to be voting for this year, it's not Palestine. I'm sorry. Even on the other side of it, for Israel, that is not the biggest issue. That's not the biggest geopolitical threat in the world right now. It's not. That shit consistently happens between Israel and Hamas and the proxy militaries in the region. This is the largest geopolitical threat to the world right now. And it's sad that it's all of it. Complacence, distractions, doing other things, and then hopium, and report the people that report on this as if like Ukraine is just, and they proved the world wrong in the first year, but it needed to be like consistent. Like people didn't like talking about the Russian military as if they're just unbeatable or as if they're completely beatable, as if they're like it's like two things are true. Like we see the tactics of the Russian military and we can see that it's completely different from Western military in terms of like their strategy, They don't care for human life. They make silly mistakes often, but because that they've been so, at least they've been consistent with it, at least, guys. That's the difference, is that the Russian military, with their dog shit tactics, their lack of care for human life, and the meat grinder of just sending things, humans, equipment at Ukraine, they've been consistent with it. Whereas we, supporting Ukraine and other Western countries, have taken the heat off of it and placed it in other places. Focus shifted to the Middle East. Aid stopped. I don't know what's happening in the Ukrainian command. I'm going to have Big Mac on soon here, either tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to have Big Mac on, who's a Brit, and he's in Kherson. He's going to tell us what I'm going to allow him to rant. I don't even care. He said, "Bro, you're going to have to keep me focused." I said, "Man, rant. You can speak your mind about what's happening out there." But it's all of that combined, because the Russia's been consistent with their meat grinder. They've kept it going. They're making more. They're making artillery. They're making more armaments. They've shifted their entire economy. Now that might mean the future of Russia is in jeopardy, in terms of they can't sustain a complete war. Like, they're losing money. The ruble's going to nothing. But right now, though, what does that mean? We're not playing into the future right now. We're not about Russia collapsing. We're in the here and now of what Russia's doing to Ukraine. And what they're doing on the consistent basis is working. And what we're doing in the support, or the lack of support for Ukraine, actually, that we've been showing until now, with the aid bill passing, and now since Russia's advancing on Kharkiv, everybody's focused on Ukraine again. And it just sucks that this is what has to happen, or this is what doesn't have to happen. This is what happens for the West and other people to get refocused back on Ukraine again. It has to be like a Russian offensive, or the Russians have to have a breakthrough or something for the West to get off their ass and help Ukraine in more ways than the lack of aid that we have been doing. It's just very frustrating.
Run, Granny, run, he says. The police are trying to rescue the civilians of Vovchansk. The Russians are on the edge of town. People take cover at the side of the road and make a run for it in between shells. Open up. The police know they have to try and get everyone inside at least.
Vovchansk is being destroyed by cluster bombs, artillery, mortars. There are gun battles on the northern outskirts of the town. There's tank fire. They're destroying everything they can. It's very dangerous for people to stay in the town now.
They're trying to make people leave for somewhere safer. She's blind, he says. We have to lead her to the bus. Most of those in Vovchansk are elderly and infirm. They may not care if it's Ukraine or Russia in charge, but they're in danger as Ukrainian troops are forced to retreat.
Special attention is being paid to the Kharkiv region. Defensive battles and fierce fighting continue on a large part of our border. There are villages that have actually turned from a grey zone into a zone of hostilities, and the occupier is trying to gain a foothold in some of them, and others are being used to advance further.
Russian troops are pushing into the region around Kharkiv in northeastern Ukraine. Russia says it seized at least 9 villages over the weekend and is closing in not only on Vovchansk but also Liptsy. Russia is seeking to push Ukrainian forces further back from the border to make it harder for them to shell the Russian town of Belgorod. It also wants to divert Ukrainian assets from the front around Avdiivka.
Let's cope.
Today, Russian workers were clearing up after an apartment block in Belgorod collapsed yesterday, presumably
there you go, collapsed.
The result of a Ukrainian missile attack.
No.
15 people were killed. Ukraine believes it needs to bring the war into Russia and not just fight on Ukrainian soil.
Yeah, at the oil refineries and at their military bases.
It's hard to know what President Putin thinks about the progress of the war he started. But yesterday it was announced that his defense minister Sergei Shoigu had lost his job and been made Secretary of the Security Council, at best a sideways move. He's been replaced not with another military man, but with an economist, Deputy Prime Minister Andrei Belousov. A sign maybe of how Russia's is now a war economy, where everything is in the service of victory against Ukraine. As for the Ukrainians, they may have a few shiny new Western tanks like the Leopard 2A6, but they're still struggling with a shortage of ammunition. Nor do they have enough troops. The expected delivery of a much-delayed American aid package will help, but Ukraine's determination to preserve its independence may yet prove greater than its ability to do so.
Right. They have the Leopard tanks out there, the Challenger, but they don't have ammunition for keeping it rolling and keeping the front lines protected. Is this an entire... I had a whole video set aside and I can't remember what happened to it now. It was like a 26-minute video of like Kharkiv, and I don't know where it went. Ukrainians flee Kharkiv as Russia advances. You got the Telegraph. What up, Storm Songs?
Signs of smoke and explosions in the background. You can also hear the odd We're driving up from Kharkiv in northeast Ukraine towards the Russian border, where there have been some attacks by Russian forces on villages in and around the border, particularly a town called Vovchansk and a few other settlements around there. There's been quite a heavy fighting reported over the last 2 or 3 days. We understand that the Russian plan is either to try and attack Kharkiv from here and use this as an opening assault, or as a diversion to distract Ukrainian troops who are busy fighting in the Donbass further south and east.
Are we seeing advancements yet? They got Orachetny there to the south. I'll go through a whole map update, but yeah, we haven't, since Russia started this offensive in Kharkiv, we're not seeing any movements now in Donbass. Good question to ask from that journalist.
There's quite a bit of shelling going on around here, and every so often you see patches of smoke coming from the woods where artillery has landed. Come here driving at like 70, 80 miles an hour to avoid being targeted by artillery.
And less than 1,000 viewers. We got to slow the chat down. There's another stream that runs at night. They get like 7,000 viewers, and it's like you can read every comment for at least a half hour before the next one posts. I guess we could, but it's already a slow mode on. I'll put it at like 15. But that's just the chat. We're busy today. Got a lot of chatters. Shout out to the chatters.
It's not a road to hang around on. We're in the company of a group of volunteer rescue workers and some police who are ferrying people who want to leave Vovchansk back towards Kharkiv. So we're in this old lady's house. She's busy gathering her belongings so that she can leave as soon as possible. She's also trying to take her own car. I think we'd rather she just got going. You can also hear the odd The evacuation team are now rescuing this lady with her dog, doing it as quick as they can.
Dog saved.
We're now leaving Vovchansk. Just earlier, while there was a lot of shelling, one of the police officers who was out of earshot was saying that there was a Russian drone could be heard buzzing somewhere in the area. We're now in a town just south of Vovchansk that's being used as a muster point for evacuating people who want to flee the town and the surrounding villages up near Vovchansk. It feels fairly quiet here, but you can hear a lot of artillery, mainly outgoing Ukrainian artillery in the background. And also on the way here from Kharkiv, as we drove up, you can see freshly dug defences that are clearly being dug in anticipation of a Russian push down here towards Kharkiv, which is Ukraine's second biggest city.
It's a massive city. Okay, let's go through the map update on Kharkiv. Also, let's go to, before we do that, let's go to Andrew Perpetua's. He does really good maps. He's been doing his own map since like the beginning. All right, I haven't been doing my own map. I've been following maps that are trusted. But we can go through this timeline before I go through the study of war map. Russians are fighting the mattresses. So he puts in jokes with his map updates. So but he has videos with the maps to show you like what's going on. So he's like a really, really good source for the latest up-to-date maps, because at 4 o'clock at 4 o'clock Eastern time is when my map updates, but he's like updating his map constantly. Like you'll get the latest up-to-date maps from him, in my opinion. So unfortunately, Russians entered Belorusia and Kharkiv, the Volvachansk axis, and immediately started looting and pillaging local houses. The biggest issue that I hear from defenders is that we lack firepower, we don't have enough ammo and SPGs. Of course, readiness of the territorial defense has also played a big role here. That's the other thing, you guys. Ukraine's rolling out territorial defense forces to go and defend this. That's not good. Okay, it's not good. You don't want the TDF to be defending the actual border of Ukraine. Of that, they're not as ready as the other units are, and there's common views of Russia. There's the Russian military looting mattresses. In 2022, it was wash machines, so they're going to be able to furnish an entire room soon in one of their flats with stolen Ukrainian things. We got his map. Might be smart to use his map, to be honest. I don't want to it's his map though, and he has a stream that he does his map on, so I don't want to take it. That's the reason why I haven't used other creators created maps. I mean, I can reach out to him and be like, yo, I do a map section every time and you have the best maps. If I could use yours, I'll ask permission from now. I'm not going to use it right now, but he has the really good maps, you guys. That's all I got to say. Let's continue. Fundraiser is important. What's this one for? From Constantine. Why do I not follow this account? Ukrainian combat veteran 1415. Please read a small interview from Ukrainian commanders below. After consulting with my friends from the Ukrainian 92nd Assault, 26th and 47th Artillery Brigades, I have decided to shift my fundraising goals towards engineering equipment, specifically excavators. Why are small excavators so important to the infantry for defensive positions? Our brigade has 1 or 2 PZM2 trenchers, and they are always either broken or in use. We lack the manpower to build proper fortifications, and the infantry often ends up not digging deep in long enough trenches because they are exhausted from endless combat and shelling. I can't afford to have them in a trench for 6 days and then digging another trench for 6 more, or they need to rest. I asked if they would be able to dig the fortifications when enemy FPVs fly by. Now is the perfect time for that. Because of the greenery, we can relatively safely build trenches inside tree lines. Because obviously in wintertime, you can see through tree lines better because there's less foliage. If we have small 2 to 8 ton excavators, it can discreetly operate inside the tree line without breaking all of the trees. It's mobile and easy to use. Yes, we will have a risk of delivering it quickly enough to the tree line and back, but I'd rather risk driving it in the open for 15 minutes and having my infantry stuck in the knee-deep trenches without proper sealing, layering with 3 layers of logs. They save the lives of our infantry. If you carefully examine the latest videos, you can see that the only thing between the infantry and the enemy FPV is fortifications. Okay, so infantry's being they're doing a lot. They're out there having to fight, but then also having to build the defensive positions behind, and that's time and resources that Ukraine just doesn't have. There's the excavator. Thanks to excavators we received from the Liberty Ukraine Foundation, we were able to build fortifications that save our lives. And expensive equipment we are using. Thank you for all the caring people. You help motivate us. So that's how defensive lines are made. Okay, let me see. They have a link on there from Liberty Ukraine Foundation. Provide support to those fighting for Ukraine. Provide aid to those suffering in Ukraine, displaced by war. And again, that's Liberty Ukraine Foundation, Liberty Ukraine F, for the situation and helping get those out there. What else do we have? There was another video I had seen. The Guardian has one. This is more footage of the evacuations from Kharkiv in the border regions. Okay, we saw some of that footage in the other video, but it's okay to see it twice. Double confirmed. Now the Russians are reaching Vovchansk and are using the scorched earth method. That is, they're trying to burn the territory in front of them. When the infantry comes in, they always advance like that. This is Bakhmut, it's Marinka, it's Avdiivka. The same is happening of Vovchansk. All right, so they're trying to do the same strategy, the scorched earth, burn everything, destroy everything, shell the entire city, and then infantry goes in. And then the infantry heads in to clear it. Or there's not going to be anything left if that's the scorched earth tactic, like Bakhmut, Marinka, or Avdiivka. But that's how the infantry is able to advance. They're like, well, civilian life, civilian infrastructure, yeah, we'll just bomb that. We'll just destroy it all, flatten the city so our infantry can move through. That is the Russian strategy. Again, like I said earlier, it's not a moral strategy at all. Zero, none. The difference is Russia's been consistent with that. That's why we're seeing Russian success. Like it's a consistency of their brutal warfare. Whereas the consistency from the West helping Ukraine and Ukraine getting new troops out there have not been consistent. Regardless of any way you want to spin it, we have not been consistent with our help to Ukraine, and Ukraine needs to get troops out there. This is from Associated Press. More of the evacuations. Okay, we saw that one. Can't see the bus. Okay, so it might have been a few reporters of different agencies out at the evacuation point out there. I had a 26-minute video, and now I don't know what I did with it or where I put it. No, it's not those either. I have no idea what I did with it, y'all. Join the description of the Discord link. Yeah, what the heck? I had one out there. I had one about the Northeast, and I don't know exactly what happened to it. All right. Now, with the Northeast, we can go through the map update. So this is the situation of the past 24 hours, and now that it's Monday, I'll keep you guys updated on a 24-hour basis from today to tomorrow of where the Russians are, so you guys can get a day-to-day map. And as I continue doing this through the rest of the week, I will do the best I can to get a video up. It'll be easier to do it Tuesdays through Fridays. I'll try Mondays. I'll just have to wake up earlier on Mondays to get a video update of just the map. Just the map, and maybe a couple videos that go along with what's happening, and that's it. Make a 12-minute video, 15-minute video for you guys if you don't have time to watch the live streams every day. But what's happening here is very important to track. So let's look at the map of Ukraine to get your bearings, to know where we're at. And we'll go through the whole front. We'll go through north to south, around the bend. Okay, we're going to start up here northeast of Kharkiv. Okay, northeast, you got Kharkiv, the city, capital of Kharkiv Oblast. And then we're also going to go to the southeast, but we're going to stick in this section first to begin the map update. All right, let's go. So you have the city of Kharkiv. It's a massive city. I was able to go there. I deeply regret not going to the zoo now. I mentioned in the other stream. I really wish I would have went. Okay, I'll get to go someday. Okay, here's the north, where the Russians have occupied territory inside of the Ukrainian border. And we're starting to see the Russians advance south in 2 directions. Advance south. And no, I had a comment earlier saying, is this, if the Russians take Kharkiv, does this mean they're going to be on their way to Kyiv? No. Okay, no, even with that, even with this, it's nothing is on its way to Kyiv. Okay, they have regardless, it's so many miles and miles and miles of terrain and territory. Russia hasn't gotten much, they haven't gotten further off the borders and the occupied regions of Donbass and Crimea still. Like all that territory that they had gained in 2022, they lost 3/4 of it. And still to this day, after 2+ years, they don't advance a whole lot further outside of their own borders. They're just not able to because of how big Ukraine is. So regardless, it's not going to be a reflective point of as if this is now advancing towards Kyiv. We've heard that cope from everything. We've heard that type of cope even when Russians were advancing around Bakhmut last year. Okay, look how Kharkiv is far from Kyiv. There's the E40 ground line of communication that could get them there, but they'd have to go through Poltava Oblast. It's just not going to happen. Russians have already shown that they can't get any further than the surrounding regions that they've already occupied, like incrementally. And how long do you have? You have like 10 years? You have like, what was it? It was 2 years, 2+ years to see another offensive from Russians here in Kharkiv. What are you going to wait 5 years to see them maybe get further? And I don't think so. I think the West will step in prior to any of that happening in terms of actually having troops on the ground. I think NATO countries at some point here, as time is going on, will put troops in Western Ukraine. I think we'll have a Western leader that will be strong and will do that because Russia's been using Iranian drones. They've been using North Korean artillery shells. They've been using other countries' help for support to kill Ukrainians. So I think at some point here, we will have NATO countries help Ukraine in terms of putting troops in the West, right here in Lviv, in Rivne, in Ternopil, all of this over here. So that way Ukraine can focus entirely on the front lines and defending and also getting their land back through counteroffensive in that region. So we see the Russians here's Volochansk. They're able to push into the city, as you guys can see here, or at least with their scorched earth policy of what they're doing now, which is just destroy everything completely. Leave nothing behind, scorched earth. We got meat grinder tactics of just sending everything in at once. And that is what we're seeing here in this northeastern section. Same here in Olekhnove. But we have a lot of villages that are under Russian control now, as has been reported northeast of Kharkiv. And we'll go through some more clips here on that in a section, or in a minute. Nothing's changed between Kupiansk and Seversk. No ground gain, no changes in this section of the front, likely because Russia's putting their focus on northeast of Kharkiv. So we have nothing's changed in this direction of the front lines of Ukraine. We also have Bakhmut. Willie OAM is a far better source of unbiased updates on this war. Yeah, Willie's a shill for Russia, and he has been for a long time. All right, so that's why it's easy to be unbiased when you're supporting Russia this whole time, and it's easy to be unbiased when you're catering to a pro-Russian audience and you're talking about how Avdiivka was taken, so now they're onwards to Kyiv. You just want somebody that's going to give pro-Russian narratives. I don't want to hear about unbiased. I am actually one of the most unbiased when it comes to this war because other pro-Ukraine platforms will be cheering on only Ukraine wins even through all of this. There are still platforms that are so pro-Ukraine that haven't even talked about any Russian advancement at all. So I don't want to hear that. You want somebody that's going to be pro-Russian with their thing and act as if the Russians are morally acceptable in anything. And that's what you're asking for. Let's be more accurate here. And no, I will not do that. So Chasiv Yar, we have a little bit of an advancement to the north of this Chasiv Yar east section, right? Just to the north. Little bit of a gain there. Little bit of a gain, but we also have a little bit of a pushback from the Ukrainian armed forces to the northeast of Chasiv Yar. I think Willie should go stand in Israel again and do streams talking to the IDF. That was really good content. Okay, Avdiivka direction. We don't see any further advancements to the west of Avdiivka, which again, likely the result of the Russian positions to the northeast of Kharkiv, up near the border regions, okay? Nothing new here. And for the last 2-3 weeks, we were seeing advancements in this direction. we were seeing advancements here, but we're not seeing it now. Again, due to the likely case that Russian forces have reallocated troops or something. I think that they've been stationing troops up here, though. They've been allocating troops. They got defensive lines built up on Belgorod region, and this is troops up here. They have like 30-some thousand soldiers to the northeast of Kharkiv. But beyond that, we're not seeing anything new up here, down here around Donetsk City and Avdiivka. Rebel USA says the Estonian government is seriously discussing the potential deployment of Estonian troops in non-combat roles for Ukraine. That's what I said. I said it a couple months ago. I feel, in my opinion, it'll be these countries first, Baltic countries that actually put soldiers in Ukraine, right? And then it'll go from there. But I feel it'll be the Baltic states. So they've been putting the most of their GDP into Ukraine anyways. Was it Estonia leading? I think Estonia has the most of their GDP going towards Ukraine. Country GDP, and then it's like Latvia is like 3, I think. Oh no, it's Estonia, Denmark, Latvia, and then I think Lithuania is up there. Country GDP support to Ukraine. There you go. Yeah, Estonia and Denmark have committed the most aid to Ukraine as a percentage of their GDP. Estonia is at 3 point, and that's, again, guys, this is like percentage of their entire country's economy. Not like the United States, where we're pulling a percentage of our military bill. Not even our it's not even like, boy, there's a derogatory term I'm not going to use, but it's barely there. Like, we're not even touching our GDP whatsoever in terms of our aid to Ukraine. Whereas, like, again, Estonia, 3% of their entire country's economy, over almost 4% of their entire country's economy for everything is going to Ukraine. Denmark is at 2.4%. I wish there was a whole list. There it is. Where are we? Where's the United States? Probably not even on here. There we are, 0.32%. There we are. We're down here. So those that are like, my taxes, we're giving everything to Ukraine, cope. We're not, right? It's the countries that are around Ukraine, which again would even give benefit to those that are, why doesn't Europe help more? Why are we doing everything? We aren't. Europe is doing way more than we are. We're giving a lot. We're giving a lot of money. We're not giving as much as the European countries consistently. We're not even in the top 5. We're not. Chat is full of weirdos now. Yeah, it's probably a bunch of pro-Russians. They come out whenever there's a Russian success. There isn't many. You realize there isn't a whole lot of Russian successes. So like the periods when there are, they really show back up. They like leave their Telegram channels and like, let's go to the pro-Ukraine stuff and start trolling. That's how it works. Just get used to it. Unfortunately, it's a war. It's been happening since 2022 when they thought they were going to take Ukraine. And then it didn't happen. And then they came back in Bakhmut. And then that was that. And then they came back in Avdiivka. And then now they're sticking around because of Kharkiv. Ukraine faces decisive battle as Russian forces surge. As the 2-year war enters a critical phase, Ukraine's second city, Kharkiv, is in Putin's sights. Ukraine's second city of Kharkiv and its surrounding area are facing an intense wave of attacks from Vladimir Putin's invading troops. The signs are that this surge marks the start of a decisive battle that will be critical for the outcome of the war. At stake is not just control of one of Ukraine's major population centers, but potentially the country's capacity to keep fighting. If Kharkiv falls, Western resolve may soon follow. I don't know. I don't agree with that, Politico. I think that it would increase the... If anything, every time Ukraine takes an L, a major L, or Russians take a major L that could motivate the West to give Ukraine equipment, stuff happens. We just got a $400 million aid bill, not new money, but money from the allocated funds to help with it. New aid package right here. And again, unfortunately, whenever we see trends like this, like Russians advancing or taking ground, it does motivate the West to do something. But not until then, sadly enough, right? I don't know. I don't think the resolve would fall. I think it would just increase it. But again, it's sad. Like, that's what it takes. Russian forces have been long expected to make a major attempt to break through Ukrainian lines in May or June. It now seems clear that this path is underway. with Putin apparently keen to take advantage of a window before more Western ammunition and weapons arrive to help Ukraine's military fight back. On Sunday, Russia launched a two-pronged dawn attack in the area, and fierce battle is now raging for a control of group of 30 towns and villages across an arc of 30 kilometers north of Kharkiv. Some local officials told Ukrainian media Monday that poorly built fortifications are allowing the Russians to make advances. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky ordered the evacuation of nearly 6,000 people from the region. Kharkiv's governor warned the delay to sending Western ammunition had given Russia an advantage and weakened Ukraine's defenses in the area. The delay in the aid. But also, again, man, there's changes being made in the Ukrainian military for a reason. Commanders got replaced and things were moved around for a reason. It's just going to be internal, and we're not going to find all that out. So to answer your question, I have no idea. I just know it's not just the U.S. aid that was the reason why we're seeing Russians push through. Ukraine did not have defensive positions built when they should have, like specifically around Avdiivka. Those should have been built. There's none. That's why the Russians advanced so far through here, because there was nothing to stop them along the way, and Ukraine needed to do that. That was up to them to do. Zelensky issued a defiant message saying that while the fighting was fierce, reinforcements had been sent. We are adding more forces to Kharkiv. Both along our state border and along the entire front line, we will invariably destroy the occupier in a way that will disrupt any offensive intentions. The head of the Kharkiv Regional Military Administration, Ole Shunibov, said, while the situation is indeed difficult, the area is fully controlled by our troops. Russia's defense ministry claims its forces have captured 5 villages and inflicted 1,500 casualties on Ukraine in recent fighting. The claims both sides are making of the opening exchanges of what is likely to be a long drawn-out battles over the coming months can't be independently verified because things happen on a daily basis. Changes happen on a daily basis. It's not like Afghanistan or Iraq where like the journalists have their own place and the weapons of mass destruction are there. We promise America, and then 2 months later, yeah, we swear they're still there. They have to actually work with changes on a 24-hour basis. Like something could be fact now, not even 24 hours. Something could be fact now, and then an hour from now, things can change. And journalists have to react to that. They don't have to. They can actually wait. They can wait some time, which is why I only do the day-to-day updates, and I can't do like anytime something happens, like go live, because there's so many things. But if you actually wait, time does kick in and changes happen like pretty quickly over a 24-hour period. That's just what the military is. Hurry up and wait. Changes happen. You have to be flexible. So journalists need to be as well. I don't agree with that analysis from that article about the Western support for Ukraine will lower due to this. I don't agree with that at all. Big Mac's battle blogs. Big Mac. He said, I had a chatter say that he had a video yesterday. He's going to be on the stream. Yes. Drums in the Deep. He's going to be on not the stream tomorrow. I might talk to him because he's like Brandon when it comes to the streams, just not too comfortable with the live streaming thing. But I think I'm going to edit a video or do a video with him and then post it to the channel. But he's in Kherson right now.
Hello, I'm Joe McDonald, and this is Big Mac's Battle Blog. I don't know how many of you read Lord of the Rings, but there's a line from the Mines of Moria. They're coming. We're surrounded. We cannot get out. Drums. Drums in the deep. Things feel a little bit like that right now. Quite a lot like that. Today, a lot of people have contacted me from different FPV.
You can hear the artillery in the video behind him. You can hear that.
Today, a lot of people have contacted me from different FPV teams. And they're all out of explosives, or almost out of explosives. We're really desperate. FPVs aren't meant to be a major critical asset.
Literally, and that should have been a key warning sign when like the article, and it was good for our fundraisers to help Ukraine when we found out that Ukraine was fighting with mostly FPV drones and crowd-funded equipment during the 6 months of lull. We were able to fundraise more for the 69th Stiffing Brigade, which the link is in the description. That needs to continue. We have to get this done because they're trying to push for aid to Kharkiv. So while other channels can muster up almost 400,000 out of nowhere from their subscribers, we need to get this done so we can continue to help the Ukrainian armed forces in Kharkiv and get that done. So link is in the description for that. But that wasn't a good thing. And overall for the war, that the FPVs were taken over because Ukraine needs that artillery. They need mortars. They need ammunition. They need support.
Mortars and artillery and air support.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be a nice thing? They're meant to be what you call upon when you need the help, when we need to take out big targets. But FPVs have become a major role in this war. And yeah, the kind of people who've been contacting me today should be able to go straight to high command in Kyiv and, you know, message them and get sent promptly what they need. What I do is like a little bit of sprinkling on the fucking cake, a bit of a polish to the fucking statue, you know? It's not meant to be a critical logistical role. And right now, it would appear that I'm in a critical logistical role. Now, some of you may feel that I'm giving the game away here, that I'm letting the Russians know how bad things are. But the Russians already know. And you know why they know? Because we're not blowing the fucking piss out of them left, right, and centre. We're quiet. And they know that. Things are bad. Things are really bad. So yes, government in Kiev, yes, you European allies, America. If anyone's listening, we need explosives and we need detonators and we need them now. Not in a few weeks, not in a couple of months, not next year, along with the F-16s when maybe they one day arrive. We need them now. Please. They're building big defences outside of Kherson. They're not building them inside of Kherson. We're preparing to lose this city, it would appear. The city that I'm in. You know, Mykolaiv, Odessa, vast defences are being put up. We're preparing to lose this side of the Dnipro.
It's not good. So that's in the southern axis, right? So that's Kherson, which was taken, which was liberated by Ukraine. You're saying basically that, I mean, it's bad though. It's been shelled. You can't go there now. You can't go to Kherson at all. So that's Mykolaiv getting defensive lines built up around that. And then also Odessa to the west. And that's a port city. But in terms of Kherson, it sounds like they're getting ready to move back to Mykolaiv and give up on the Dnipro River here.
We were preparing to hold it. We'd be fortifying the bank and within the city.
Right.
But we're not. We're fortifying outside the city.
So like he's saying, in other words, right, just to give you visuals with it so you can understand, like if they were getting ready to defend Kherson from Russians advancing, those lines would be built like they'd be getting ready for the crossings, right? Defensive lines here, or even where they have territory in the islands. They'd be getting those built up in preparation from the Russians advancing. But he's saying they're not. They're getting defensive lines built likely behind Kherson on the way to Mykolaiv. Like I'm thinking that E58 highway is the ground line of communication into Mykolaiv. So it goes like this from Kherson and goes right back. Big ground. We saw all this liberated, so it was all red at one point, but it goes right there, right into Mykolaiv. You got rivers. Okay, those are going to be natural ground lines. Those are going to be natural defensive lines that are there, which go right through that'll help Ukraine. Goes right through the highway, right? You got one there. Got a river that goes like right there through the highway. Got a river there. You got a river there. So likely looking at somewhere in here, somewhere in there, going to get defensive lines established to separate Kherson from Mykolaiv, because Not good, not looking good.
And we're out of explosives for FPVs. We're not out. We have an emergency reserve. When the big push comes, we'll hurt them. We'll hurt them a lot. But we won't be able to stop them, not with what we've got. Now, maybe I'm wrong, because I'm just a soldier, and all I can do is look at what's around me and make my assessment. But if I see it, cleverer men than me have already seen it.
Good point.
And whatever you may think of the common mobilized Russian infantry, the FSB and Russian High Command are not fucking stupid. And if you think they are, then you're fucking stupid. You know, you can see the bloody defences we're building outside the city from space, I'm quite sure. And they do have satellites and they have long-range drones. And they can also see what we have in Kherson. And it's not enough. So please, no time for humanitarian aid, no time for blah blah, no time for meetings with politicians. We need explosives, and we need them now. Anyway, it's goodbye from me, Joe McDonald, at Big Mac's Battle Blog. And as always, to our Russian and Vatnik listeners, and to the young Ukrainian men who refuse to do their bit and swan around in new clothes in Lviv and Kyiv and Odessa.
Okay.
Idi Nahoy Zalupa.
Okay, facts. Okay, all right. Now I'm going to say it. Yeah, facts.
Things are really bad.
Facts. There are lots of men, young men, and just people walking around Kyiv and Lviv, boy, and you can see it on the soldiers' faces. I wasn't going to say it because it's not my, but Big Mac said it. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Holy shit. Like when I'm in Kyiv, I'm walking around like, golly, dude. There's a whole lot. It's tough because it's not my country, right? If it was America, I would be, if I saw guys my age or like in their 20s just in the nicest of clothes and they're at the restaurants and they're out clubbing and they're out hanging, I would fucking be furious. Like if this was the United States and we were being invaded, and I saw dudes again my age, because I would have to go back. I'm 30. I'm broken. My knees don't work properly, but I'd figure it out if I was being invaded. Yeah, but it's different though, because it's not my country, not my people in terms of like, I'm not Ukrainian. It's like not really like morally, I guess, like my place. But I guess I'm going to amplify that point he made at the end there. There are a lot that are chilling right now that don't need to be, that shouldn't be chilling while Ukraine is being invaded. But I'm just going to leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. But if it was the United States being invaded, again, I would be furious with what I've seen from other men that are American if it was America, but it's Ukraine. So it's not my place really. Yeah, got to. But as most of us aren't from Ukraine and we're not Ukrainian, you got to remember it's not our place as much as like we care and we want to see them win. It's not our place to be like, why aren't you blah, 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 blah. When it comes to military strategy, though, and we're seeing lack of defensive lines, like that's going to happen. But when it comes to like mobilizing a population, though, I can only say what I would do if I was in the United States and I saw what I've seen from places in Kyiv and Lviv. That's the best way I can put it. All right, let's go to Twitter and try to find clips. Well, you can see it on the soldiers' faces too when they go back there and they just like look around and like. Allegedly, this shows the first minutes of the clash between Ukrainian border guards and an enemy group on the day of the Kharkiv offensive began. Timely detection of the enemy saved lives of the defenders. No one panicked despite realizing that the enemy had a numerical advantage. So again, this is the first few minutes of the border guard. Oh, wow. Quick thinking and bravery. So Ukrainians because the Ukrainian soldiers out there are very well trained. They've just been out there for too long. Like the mind and the brain can only handle so much combat before like you become like you can become a zombie in terms of you have so much post-traumatic stress to where like you become a completely different person, or like you become kind of a vegetable in terms of, man, like it is existing is very difficult from people that I've, my friends that have it. So they can't be out there for that long. They need to be rotated back to get a break. It doesn't mean that they're going to stop fighting, knowing them. They're going to go back out there eventually, but they need some time off to go back to Kyiv, go back to Lviv with the other guys clubbing and stuff, and they need to go back there and relax for a few weeks before they go back out there, but they haven't been. But because they know what they're fighting for in terms of protecting their country, they're going to still be professional and do what they have to do. And that's shows you the will of Ukraine, and shows you the will of the Ukrainian armed forces, that despite this massive push of Russia, they're advancing in a new sector. Ukraine knows that they are a manpower shortage. They know that the West has been a lack of aid for 6 straight months. They don't have enough ammo to fight the Russians that are coming, but they're doing it anyways, and they're not running. They're going to stay in that position. Nobody panicked, despite Russia having more. So let's get this video. Your grandpa didn't have PTSD from World War II, he just drank a lot? Yeah, he had PTSD. That's why he drank a lot. Wow. You can hear the Russians yelling. Wow. You can hear the Russians. So they're yelling at the Ukrainians to surrender. Wow. So there's a lot of them. Reload the ammo. Wow, what a clip. All right, we'll go full screen because I had my camera and the chat up on it. I'll turn it down a little bit so I can talk over it. But again, this is a Ukrainian unit that's in the forest, and those voices you hear are Russians. They're coming up on their position in the northeast of Kharkiv. Ukrainian soldiers didn't run. They stayed in there. If anything, this reminds me of when you see American clips from Vietnam, and the Viet Cong are approaching and they're coming up onto their positions. And they sit there and engage them. They know the Russians are telling them to surrender, give up. We're here, there's more of them, and they don't. So there it is, Russian yelling in the forest. My camera was blocking that earlier, so I'm just gonna play it again. It's not tropical, it's forest. You have urban environments, you have forest in the east and in the north, and in the west, southwest, in the Carpathian, but those are mountains too. Ukraine is massive. There's all different types of terrain in Ukraine. In the south, you have beaches, and you got Crimea and the sea. Farmland in the west and in central part. Big farmland. Again, here's the Russians yelling in the forest. Ukraine confirms they're Russians. Derogatory term from Ukrainians, surrender. There's a lot of them. Reload the ammo, he says. Okay, so again, that was a clip. Let me get the chat back up. Just recently, actually, that's a fresh clip. Just came out a couple minutes ago. Again, from the, it says it's the border guards fighting against the Russians. Let me get the chat back up. In very close proximity. You guys said my bad, the Facebook feed was glitching. Good thing I have YouTube up. I'll try to get that fixed here. I'll lower the bit rate. It should fix on, yeah, it should fix on Facebook now. I apologize. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. So again, that was from Dmitry War translated, posted, Border Guards of Kharkiv. Wow, what a clip that is. Let me save that. Actually, let me just retweet that and save it. How come I can't save it? I should be able to. Oh, add a folder. I have bookmarked folders now for when I can find good video here. Battle for Ukraine. Russians sustain major losses in the Kharkiv Oblast. So again, we see these losses are for a reason. Okay? Russia does gain ground, but it's to massive losses. It's like two things are true. When it comes to this war, you got to be able to navigate multiple truths at once. Russia is getting massive losses, but it's resulting in incremental gains that we're seeing. I call it just like how I reported on what's happening out here. This wasn't fast. Russia's advancement from Avdiivka to here wasn't quick. It was weeks. Weeks and weeks and weeks of incremental gains, but they're taking massive losses to do so. But when Ukraine doesn't have ammunition or the manpower to stop those incremental advances, they have enough to destroy them with their FPVs. And what Russia could be gaining, Ukraine with their skill and prowess is stopping them from what they could have, but they're still gaining some ground incrementally, and they're taking massive losses doing so. You would literally have to be able to navigate multiple things that are true at the same time to understand this war truly. You have to have a brain for it. If you don't, then you're going to be stuck in loops and biases and, oh, I thought you said this yesterday and I thought blah, blah, blah. I don't know what they'll tell you. If you didn't join the military, it might be harder to understand of how quickly information can change and how multiple things are true at the same time. So again, here is the destruction of the Russians in Kharkiv despite the incremental gains. They're getting absolutely destroyed. Which again, Big Mac brought up in his video about Kherson, where he says if we had enough artillery and mortars, we could shell them and we could stop them from advancing. They are mostly, but they're still gaining incremental successes because Ukraine can't sustain the artillery on them and keep artillery barrages on the Russian military to stop them completely like they were over the winter. But after 6 months, you know, time adds up. I go full screen here. Zoom in on soldiers, but that is I gotta fix this so I can just quickly move over really quick, you guys. But we don't need to zoom in on dead bodies. I've been seeing a lot of that lately too. Oops. That's what we need. We need Macron. Where's my camera? There we go. Let me put this on the background quick. Where's display capture? Thank you. There we go. Now I can go easy full screen. There we go. Now I have to play with it. So that is Ukrainian defenses in the Kharkiv direction. Let's go with President Zelensky and the latest from him on what Ukraine is doing to counter those Russian attacks in the Kharkiv direction. He says, our results are improving. We're destroying the enemy's infantry and armored vehicles. I appreciate all of our warriors who strictly adhere to orders, hold their positions, and make every effort to stabilize the situation. Let's get President Zelensky. To Ukrainians, briefly about this day. First, the reports of the Commander-in-Chief and the Minister of Defense regarding the situation in the most intense directions. In the Kharkiv region, our counterattacks are ongoing. We provided reinforcement in that area in particular, in Vovchansk and the border areas in general. Brigadier General Mikhail Krapatsi is in charge of this direction directly on the ground, and he has provided the necessary munitions and forces. Now we are getting more and more results, destroying the occupiers' infantry and machinery. I am grateful to all our warriors who are strictly following orders, holding their ground and doing everything to stabilize the situation. At the same time, we understand the enemy's actions and plan to divert our forces. Of course, we do not leave the Donetsk direction without the necessary support and supplies, namely the Kramatorsk and Pokrovsk sectors. Constant attention is paid to the Kupiansk sector. We also observe hostility against Sumy and Chernihiv regions. Keep in mind, Sumy and Chernihiv. That's why make sure you subscribe to the channel, you guys, because we talk with Greg on Tuesdays. He's live right now. I'll probably send you guys to his stream after we're done. But we've been talking about the Sumy and Chernihiv and Kharkiv. The border regions have started evacuating like weeks ago, last month actually. Maybe longer, because I'm not up to date with all the border regions and the day-to-days there, like the operational security reasons. But we've been telling you that these oblasts have been getting evacuated now for at least a month. If you've been watching my channel or Greg Terry's channel on the front lines. Subversive groups and shelling. We're responding with fire as we should. Our task is crystal clear: to thwart Russia's attempt to expand the war. The fulfillment of this task depends literally on everyone who is on the ground from Chernihiv to Vovchansk, from Kharkiv to Donetsk. There must be no safe place for the occupier in Ukrainian land. Today we are thankful for the downing of the Russian Su-25 in the Donetsk region. Guys from the 110th Separate Mechanized Brigade. Well done, guys. I'm also grateful to all the representatives of our regional authorities in the frontline and border regions, local communities, and to the employees of the National Police of Ukraine who help, providing evacuation and support under constant Russian attacks. Maximum efforts should be made to ensure that it is the occupier who loses, not us, not Ukrainians. Second, our international activities. I had a conversation with the Prime Minister of Sweden. I informed him about the situation on the front line today, about Russian attempts to put more pressure on Ukraine. We discussed the details of the new defense package from Sweden and the possibility of expanding our cooperation. In particular, the financing of weapons production. This includes both projects in Ukraine and joint projects. Sweden can significantly, by investing in this joint production effort, they can help significantly, rather. So can Luxembourg. In a conversation with Prime Minister of Luxembourg today, we touched upon all these opportunities to produce more weapons. I am grateful to our partners for understanding our needs and our prospects, common prospects. Of course, I have invited both leaders, Sweden and Luxembourg, to take part in the Global Peace Summit that we are preparing for June. I am grateful for their consent. Plus Canada, I have just spoken to the Prime Minister of Canada Two topics: defense support, especially with regard to armored vehicles and artillery. We are working on expansion in this area. And today, Justin, Mr. Prime Minister Trudeau, confirmed to me that he will participate in the peace summit. Thank you. Tomorrow is an equally active day in terms of working with our partners, and this is a joint task for Ukrainian courage and for the promptness of our partners. The effective aid packages are the ones that have been implemented and delivered. They are weapons in the hands of our warriors, that we ensure our results, Ukrainian results, the ones we all need, and they will definitely come. Thank you to everyone who stands with Ukraine. Glory to all who fight and work for the Ukrainian results. Glory to Ukraine. That's President Vladimir Zelensky on what's happening in the Northeast in Kharkiv, and then also his meetings with allied partners to continue to help Ukraine. Olaf Scholz needs to send the Taurus. To my sad knowledge, most of the fortifications north of Kharkiv were not properly positioned, as I've been telling you guys. While bunkers were built and some positions even had concrete, firing positions weren't picked right. Some of the positions were built in open fields. Some were built at the lowest elevation points, making them useless, but we can help. Link at the end. Man, who is the commander? This falls back on the leadership on building that properly out there in Kharkiv. I don't know who. I think somebody was replaced today, to be honest. I think Zelensky fired somebody. Ukraine. I swear I read that today. Yeah. Yeah, okay. There you go. Proven. Kyiv sacks Kharkiv commander as it faces fierce battles with Putin's forces. Yeah. Ukrainian troops locked in pitched battles with fierce fighting ongoing as Russian troops make gains in Kharkiv and Donetsk sectors. Former MI6 intelligence over Vladimir Putin's decision to replace his defense minister as part of a cabinet reshuffle points to serious instability right at the heart of his regime. We'll get into Shoigu next. Sergei Shoigu was rated by many as the second most powerful person in Russia, Christopher Steele told Sky News, suggesting that change goes beyond a normal reshuffle. It comes as President Vladimir Zelensky sacked Kharkiv's commander and replaced him with Brigadier General Mikhailo Dupratyi amid a surprise attack by Russia. Why do they keep calling it a surprise? Like, Ukraine, why did we know that the attack was coming? Ukraine knew it. Why do people keep reporting it as a surprise? Because it was like when came out of nowhere, came at a surprise time, or what? But beyond, like, Ukraine knew that another Russian offensive was coming. Russia widens Kharkiv front with Ukraine, small assault group. Gonna find anything on that evacuation plan. We already got that news. Want to know about the commander? I don't know anything about that commander. Telegraph surprise, I guess. Like, military command told RBC Ukraine News that the decision to appoint Brigadier General Mikhailo Dupratyi to the position to replace Yuri Gulushkin was taken on May 11th. So he was replaced 2 days ago after the push. Okay. So new commander as of 2 days ago out there. Because again, those defensive lines weren't built at all. And the ones that were in very bad places. As a former infantryman myself, coming from Constantine, not me, I remember what kind of hell it was digging trenches in the cold winter or hot summer, and I remember that our commander was booking us an excavator that always came late. It didn't come or it was broken. Where is Ukraine stabilizing and pushing back? These are the excavator equipment. All the parts, and that's just that right here is like, especially for military equipment, y'all, like in the main battle tanks, the infantry fighting vehicles. If you have a breakdown in logistics, if you have a breakdown in getting supply out there at any point, that's bad. Oh damn. Oh damn. Oh shit. That was almost bad. His shirt got stuck on the, oh man. That could have been a bad day. That could have been a very bad day right there. All right, so this guy's building, this is just showing his excavator and all the parts that go into it from Constantine. I thought this was going to be a video of digging one, but that shows you the examples of what they have. Hey, I'm glad he's okay though. Shirt got stuck on the thing for a second. I'm glad he's all right. Dear friends, today we've started an urgent fundraising to send more drones to the hottest Kharkiv region frontline, where new Russian offensives have begun. Interesting.
Dear friends, today we have started an urgent fundraising by Wild Hornets to send more drones to the hottest Kharkiv region frontline, where new Russian offensive has begun. With your help, we raised incredible $40,000 just in 5 hours. That's almost 100 drones.
Wow.
For us, this is an absolute speed record to collect such amount in such a short time. We're immensely grateful to hundreds of people from many countries. You're truly superhumans. And we ask you to continue to donate, because to keep fighting against new intensive offensive, we need 100 drones every day. Thank you very much.
Drone efforts. Well, we got to get Ukraine artillery. They're using drones to keep it going. Volunteers are evacuating hundreds of animals from the frontline areas. Yesterday, rescuers were miraculously able to get in and out of Vovchansk, a town in Kharkiv Oblast that Russia is trying to erase off the face of the earth. Russian terrorists keep on bombing Vovchansk with GAB-guided missiles weighing 250 and 500 kilograms. One bomb that size can easily destroy an apartment building. Wow, so here's the efforts of the evacuations of animals. We support the shelter fundraisers too. Wow. Oh, puppies. Took the shepherd and the puppies in the... Wow.
Их 6, и нашли их случайно.
And that's for ARC. We went to the animal shelter in Kyiv, or in Hostomel, the Hostomel animal shelter with Rick the Ukrainian. It's on my YouTube channel. Kate from Kharkiv. It's deeply frustrating and painful to witness the relentless suffering of my city under Russian bombings for 2 years, compounded by the restrictions in using Western weapons to retaliate. Now the enemy methodically destroys each town along our border using using forces amassed in areas we were barred from striking. They are inching closer day by day, aiming to return to artillery range as they have long desired make Kharkiv uninhabitable. It's beyond belief that our lives are deemed so insignificant. Hundreds have lost their lives in bombings, and now tens of thousands are losing their lives, homes, jobs, land, limbs, and God knows what else in an offensive that would have been impossible without Western restrictions. Facts. Don't strike in the Russian territory. We don't want the Russians to do something crazy like invade. Is this translated? So she says, damn them to hell, says an elderly woman crying. I don't know if was it translated? What happened to I remember in 2022, Twitter, this app was decent when you could get quickly translated videos.
from strong and resilient
Okay, Kharkiv update from 9 hours ago. Despite heightened attacks, the city keeps calm in managing the situation. Urgent evacuations for Vovchansk and Lipitsy residents dodging relentless shelling to find safety in Kharkiv. Stay strong and support Ukraine.
Kharkiv, a little update for those of you who are asking how the situation is in the city itself. There is no panic, no mass evacuation. People are determined and ready to defend their beloved city, to fight back whatever comes next. The most difficult situation is to the cities of Vovchansk and Liptsy, to the north and northeast of Kharkiv. It's highly threatening for residents, so everyone is urged to evacuate as quickly as possible. Those people have already suffered from the horrors of Russian occupation and they want to leave as quickly as possible. Evacuation teams bring these people to Kharkiv. It's already thousands of them who have been successfully evacuated, and it's ongoing today as well. Meanwhile, please stand with Ukraine, support us. We need it as much as ever. Thank you. Slava Ukraini.
And that's from Kharkiv. You can see the buildings. Even in Kharkiv, prior to this new offensive, there were still buildings there that from 2022, 2023, because the shelling's consistent. It happens. It doesn't happen in the center of the city as often, but it does. Like, things get through. But the buildings that were hit are still damaged. There's still glass missing. Walking around the streets of Kharkiv was like, man, like it was an eye opener, because your Kyiv is like so busy. There's so many people there, and they really try to keep it like, you know, day-to-day stuff is happening. You got the air raid alarms going off. You definitely have the attacks that happen, but in like the comparison between being in Kyiv in real life and Kharkiv, it's like you feel the war. You feel the war in Kyiv again when the air raid alarm goes off, but it's easy. It's quickly to like kind of mentally take yourself out of it, being around the people, going to like restaurants, going out, you know, like you can kind of like mentally, it's easier to mentally escape in Kyiv. And again, until the air raid alarm goes off, right? Until that happens, because then it's like, okay, never mind, we're still here. But in Kharkiv, it's constant. Like you just see it everywhere. You feel it. It's dark. You could feel the energy there. The Russians were, I mean, the border wasn't far, but even last year, prior to this offensive, you can feel the war more so in Kharkiv, despite it being a city where they're still trying to get things going. For example, like there's minimal restaurants open in there. There's minimal places to go out to eat. I mean, you can go to the zoo. There's a lot of boarded up buildings still. A lot of the town is just empty. A lot of their city, it's a massive city. A lot of the city is just empty. The streets are wide open. They're big, wide streets. Okay, there was taxis and stuff during the daytime, more so towards the zoo area. But it was just complete difference from Kyiv to Kharkiv, being there in person. It's hard for me to take you seriously when today you announced that you are going to gather people responsible for building defenses in Kharkiv and ask them what went wrong. And you said you were personally checking on their work for days of the, yeah. So Andrews, I said he's got good maps. He's not afraid to criticize the Ukrainian military. I'm just not going to, because like, number one, I mean, even though I served in the U.S. Army, like I wasn't in combat. So that kind of takes me out of that, right? In terms of like having a knowledgeable opinion on the situation. So I just don't really, but the defensive lines though, that has to be known that they didn't get those built. But Andrew will criticize the Ukrainian military, no problem. But I guess like when he's watching videos all day, and he keeps, look how detailed his maps are with videos. Like you can get it down to he does it down to the very weapon system that was destroyed. So he's like he's more involved in it than me, and I do streams every day, but he, like, look at the detail he does. That's just a lot. But that's why he's probably more inclined to criticize the Ukrainian military on decisions than anyone else. I just won't personally. Except for when we see the news of lack of defensive lines built, and that's like, we have to send the aid. The West has to send ammunition and mortars and the ability for Ukraine to destroy the Russians, but Ukraine military also has to do their part as well, and the command does. Not the everyday soldier. The everyday soldier is down in the trenches. They're doing what they have to do to fight the Russians, like we watched in that video where you have the Ukrainian soldiers like in the trench, in the forest, Russians are literally within talking distance and they're staying there fighting. It's not them. It's the command. It's the command that has to dictate where they're going to build the defensive lines, where it should go, et cetera, et cetera. And it wasn't done properly. And that falls back on Ukraine. That doesn't fall back on anyone else on that aspect. But when it comes to giving Ukraine consistent support, that does fall back on the West, as it always does. Any questions? Any questions on the situation? It's not good news. Not a good news day for Ukraine. I'm hoping that we can start seeing some pushback on those positions, but from my reports and what I have, I'm just not seeing it over the past 24 hours. I'll keep you guys updated 24 hours. So tomorrow we'll be live at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So keep that in mind. 7 p.m. Eastern, Tuesday through... Where'd my camera go now? Where'd my camera go? There I am. Tuesday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on Mercado Media, through a full update, maps, videos, clips, have conversations with people when I can and bring them on the stream that are relevant to the situation. So I hope you guys stick around. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Again, tomorrow night, Tuesday through Friday, every night at 7 p.m. Eastern time. This guy thinks it's a game. Why don't you join the International Legion? You have literally Vladimir Putin as your photo guy. Why don't you go and get absolutely yeeted out of my chat? All right. I served in the U.S. Army. I served in the U.S. military for a little under 10 years. And I'm doing what I'm helping Ukraine in the means I can. I can't run. I can't sprint. I can't wear 60-pound rucksacks anymore. I can't do all that. All right. So I'm helping Ukraine with our fundraisers. So actually, if anything, that troll motivated me to remind you guys to donate to our patch campaign and continue to help the Ukrainian armed forces, because on a monthly basis, we're getting Ukraine the support they need in the way that I can help right now while not joining the military. Because if I joined, number one, I would be not useful to them because I can't shoot, move. I can shoot, move, and communicate, but not like I was when I was 19 years old, because I put 10 years into the U.S. military. Okay, so it kind of like ran me through the ringer a little bit. I wasn't infantry. I wasn't combat. Those guys have back issues. Those guys have spine problems. They have more issues than I do. But the training I did do and the deployment I did go on, I have some physical issues that I didn't have prior to joining. That where I'm at, and my role is to help Ukraine from a sustainment side by helping getting trucks out there, drones out there, delivering them when I can, basically doing what I did for the U.S. military and being a support role. But I'm not going to get in a uniform and go and fight, because Ukraine's not asking for that. They're asking for support. So that's what we're going to do. All right, you guys. And also, I'm get on the ground and perform journalism. And I'm far more effective with my YouTube channel and spreading the word and triggering Russian Vatnik trolls, because they know that I have such a reach with a YouTube channel of 64,000 amazing subscribers and hundreds of thousands on my Facebook page, but they're not too interested in Ukraine. But my YouTube channel is. But don't worry, we're doing what I got to do with the independent journalism and reporting with my YouTube channel. But thank you guys again for tuning in. Please leave a comment in the comment section afterwards. All right, leave a comment below if you have anything, any critiques, comments, ideas, feedback. Okay, and no, why aren't you talking about what the Russians are doing? You're being so biased. That's not feedback. That's you wanting me to be pro-Russian, and I'm not going to do it ever. I'm not. It's not going to happen. You have plenty of other YouTube channels to tune into for somebody that wants to appease the Russian military and Vladimir Putin. And I'm not doing that. Okay, we support Ukraine over here. We want Ukraine to win, but because we want Ukraine to win, I have to be honest with the reports, even when the Russians are succeeding and they're showing some successes on the front lines and the map. I'm not going to lie about that. I'm not going to keep it away from you, but I'm also not going to become some pro-Russian garbage because we're seeing Russian successes, which is what the trolls want. They want me to do that. It's not going to happen. Have a wonderful night, you guys. Thank you again. Leave a like on the stream. Shout out to all the members of the channel. Keep her rolling. Thank you to all the support here and wide. I'll be live on my softball channel, the Renegades. Join my Discord server to get that link if you want to see me hopefully hit a home run tonight. We'll see. I've been adjusting my swing a little bit. We'll see if I can get one out of the park tonight. Renegades, 7 p.m. Central. See you guys then. Slava Ukraine, and Vladimir Putin, do fuck off. Take care, y'all.
I got ice in my veins, loaded guns, I'm insane. Fight for peace in my land, enemies lying dead. I get shit with my troop, iron tanks, bulletproof. We attack, we don't play. Don't fuck with Ukraine. Don't fuck with Ukraine. Don't fuck with Ukraine. Don't fuck with Ukraine. You can try to invade with your guns and your tanks. We prepared for the game. We destroy fucking snakes. Be aware of the beasts that will tear you in peace. We attack, we don't play. Don't fuck with Ukraine. Don't fuck with Ukraine. Don't fuck with Ukraine. Don't fuck with Ukraine.
Russian warship, go fuck yourself. 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 Rozjechałeś się Rosja. Sława naszym patrzonam. Weź się tankę rozjebał. Pompę zdawiać za SEO.
Revenge is a must, where one heads get buried in dust. 6 foot deep, when I live a boy underdog, yeah, and me with that cost. Payback time, I show no remorse. On my guy, cause I like go bust. Bad man, them, they come in like Judas. Want see me on the nail and cross. Everybody listen, time on the way, the clock tick, ticking. Everybody listen, time on the way, the clock tick, ticking. Revenge is a must, where one heads get buried in dust. 6 foot deep, when I live a boy underdog, yeah, and me with that cost. Revenge is a must. I run them, I seek repent and I want them. Revenge is a must, where one heads get buried in dust. I want them, I seek repent and I want them. Revenge is a must, where one heads get buried in dust. Revenge is a must, where one heads get buried in dust. 6 foot deep, when I live a boy underdog, yeah, and me with that cost. Payback time, I show no remorse. On my guy, cause I like go bust. Bad man, them, they come in like Judas. Want see me on the nail and cross. Revenge is a must.